What's going on, y'all? This is Flamepainter. Izzet Ramp, big spells, do fun stuff. Idea is Flamepainter gets you free spells from your graveyard. It's a 4-mana 1/4 double strike. Each time it deals combat damage to a player, you can cast an instant or sorcery from your graveyard for free. And of course it gets exiled because you can't abuse the same card again and again. So we've got some ways to put big spells into our graveyard, and we're not always going to have Flamepainter or let Flamepainter get through, so we have other ways to cast big spells by just ramping, and of course the best ways to ramp in Izzet are Galazeth and Goldspan Dragon, which we've seen plenty of times before. Have 4 copies of Prismari Command because it both gets cards into the graveyard and makes treasures, and it's just a good card because 2 damage and destroying artifacts is also quite helpful quite often. The big spells we want to cast are Alrund's Epiphany and Magma Opus to get more turns and just a whole bunch of value, 3 of each, both of which can do something on turn 2 so you're not entirely wasting your early game. This can make a treasure token, also helps you ramp and gets itself into the graveyard for the Flamepainter. Torrent Sculptor, the flip side, Flamethrower Sonata, can get your big spell into the graveyard and also remove an opponent's creature. Not too shabby. I just added this for the last game. We don't actually see it, but I do think having it is important. I had 2 teach by examples. I had 4 teach by examples for the most of the video until that change. I think going down to 2 is fine, but it's very fun to copy your huge spells as well. You can also cast this from your graveyard with the Flamepainter and then cast your big spell, which just goes way over the top. Also have the alternative win con after we ramp a lot is Crackle with Power, which deals 5 times X damage to each of up to X targets. If we can copy that, then it deals 10 times X damage, which is pretty good. So you can cast Crackle for 8. Yeah, 6 plus 2 is 8. And then you can play Teach by Example first for 2, and then for 10 mana you can hit your opponent for 20 and deal 10 damage due to permanence, which is generally enough to win the game. And we get to 10 mana pretty often with all the treasures we're making. And we have Expressive Iteration to put our deck together, and Frostbite to stop things from killing us super early, Draconic Intervention also against the very aggressive decks of the format, and since we get cards into our graveyard, that's the other big payoff for discarding our big spells. We get to deal X damage to each non-dragon creature, where X is the mana value of a card in your graveyard that you have to exile. 2 Halls of the Storm Giants because creature lands are good. Realize I forgot Pathways. Play Pathways, but it works just fine without them, as we see here. Yeah, that's the deck. Let's go try it out. Okay, we've got Intervention if they play creatures and a whole bunch of card advantage if they don't. Seems good. Squirrel Sleeves, very nice. I hear Squirrel Tribal is a thing in Historic now. Don't let your memes be dreams, folks. And we'll save the iteration for next turn. Looks like another Izzet deck. Giants. Okay, that should be doable. We're in a pretty bad spot against anything that runs a lot of counter spells, and of course Draconic Intervention's bad against dragons, but does just fine against giants. Okay, we'll take the Opus, give us something big here, and get our land drop. In case they start slamming giants, Opus can allow Draconic Intervention to kill them. I think we just go for iteration again here. Keep setting up. We're not too worried about Agar since we don't have creatures or planeswalkers for the moment. Okay, Goldspan's good. And then we'll take the Opus back to the library, play the island, Even though we're probably just going to discard a land here. Or we can, yeah, we'll just make the treasure now. Then we don't have to discard. There we go. So now next turn we can Goldspan into Draconic Intervention, which seems pretty good. This is probably... oh, they have their own Magma Opus. Alright. Looks like they're missing the land drop. How'd they just cast Calamity Bearer for... oh, because the Invasion of the Giants makes it cost 2 less, right. But we have answers, so we're fine. Okay, get rid of the Opus, take out both Giants, and now we are looking pretty good. Crackle with Power will be shortly online and can deal with whatever other Giants they want to play. They find the land and some more card advantage. Good for them. And Foretell. Okay, we can just Epiphany and win here now. That's nice. Always fun to win the traditional Izzet Dragons way. And then we can Crackle with Power X2 to do another 10 to face, so we don't have to give them another turn here. And bye-bye. Our Izzet deck is clearly superior. Okay, we've got a pretty good curve here. I'll take it. Turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, then we'll find some good stuff for later. If our opponent would ever like to start this here game. There we go. Okay, Neverwinter Dryad is probably Simic. Might be mono green. Or maybe they just don't have an island. Not going to Frostbite that though. Play the island so we can Expressive Iteration later. We could use the Opus to try and get the Goldspan down earlier instead of foretelling the Epiphany. But we might still end up casting the Opus. We don't have Draconic Intervention or a Flamepainter or anything to really want this in the graveyard. So we'll hold on to it for the moment. What is this, mono green ramp? I'm very confused. Okay, Galazeth is a perfectly good draw. Use our iteration, find a mountain, nice. Do I need another Opus, or would I rather have the Teach by Example? I think I'd rather have the Teach by Example here. Opus into the library, we'll play the mountain. Is this Environmental Sciences where they go get blue, finally, to be Simic? Yes, there it is. And there's a Cultivator. Yep, no point frostbiting that. We'll just play our Galazeth and get our own ramp going. Innkeeper can take a Frostbite. We'll see what else they have. Yeah, we'll just get the Innkeeper. We won't be frostbiting a Shaya anytime soon. Another Teach by Example. If our gold span stays around for a turn, we can do a whole lot of good stuff. Let's keep the Galzeth back. We might end up needing to block. Like if they have their own Epiphany here, we'll have to block to stay alive. Don't have to do it just yet though. Neverwinter Dryad, checking for priority probably before casting Epiphany. Sure. And Crackle with Power is another way we could win here. And since we have the 2 Teach by Examples, we're not really concerned about counterspells either. As long as we have plenty of mana, which we now have 11, which is enough to cast 2 Teach by Examples and Alrund's Epiphany. And I think that's more dramatic than Crackle with Power for 2 copied twice. Maybe not, we'll see. So this copies the Teach. Alright, so we have 7 mana left. We could... No, we don't have enough to do this X2. So 1 counterspell and they'd still survive the Crackle with Power, so we have to go for the Epiphany. And copy, copy. Still copies if they counter it. They'd need 3 counter spells to survive here, which seems very unlikely. Return it to my hand, I believe it still copies. Yep, still works. And we got him. Though maybe I should have held back a little bit because now a counterspell and we lose. Alright. They do not have a counterspell. Definitely should have held back a couple birds there. Because then we don't have all the treasures and copies anymore. So if we go for either Crackle or Prismari Command or Opus here, we don't have the mana for Opus, but if we go for either of these and they have 1 counterspell, then they just kill us with a Shaya, but they don't have that, so we're good. Just want to correct what I said a second ago. I forgot we had a second extra turn after that, so there was no way we could possibly lose. This hand looks pretty good. Have Teach by Example, Crackle to win the game, and Expressive Iteration, Frostbite to get there. Okay. Black doesn't usually have anything worth frostbiting on 2. They could have Kalane, but I don't think it's worth holding that up. We'll foretell the Epiphany instead. I think Kalane's the only thing here I'd want to frostbite. Or I guess they could be clerics too. And they could play a... Well, yeah, that's a good frostbite target. So, do we just frostbite that here? Play the tapped land? Yeah, that seems fine. Don't give them a chance to use Deadly Dispute if they have that. Would like to find some ramp here, if they're going to be that aggressive. Alright, that's better. Play some 1/1s that don't do much. Might be Village Rites here, holding priority. Or maybe they play Eye Twitch or something. Shambling Ghast and all that. Let's see. We only have a 1-drop in the graveyard. But this Flamepainter's not going to get through with how many little creatures Elves is going to play, so we'll take the intervention. And put that back, and play the land. If it comes down to it, if we wait 2 more turns, we can Teach by Example, and then Draconic Intervention. Okay, that's not good. It's a lot of cards, and we don't have any way to interact with an indestructible creature. Do I Intervention here just to kill the Blightblade? Stop them from drawing 1 card? I don't think so. I think we're still only taking 2 damage per turn here. Doesn't matter how many cards they get, because the vast majority of them will fall before a Draconic Intervention. And if we do nothing here, they're afraid of counterspells, which we don't have. Especially since Teach by Example always holds priority. Kind of nice for that. Okay. We don't care about Skemfar Avenger because Draconic Intervention exiles. Okay. There's a Goldspan Dragon. We can let them get 1 turn here. They have the Death Toucher, so it's very possible they remove the Goldspan Dragon. But either way, we get 2 treasures out of it, which is pretty good. I don't think we're in any danger of dying next turn. Getting 2 treasures means we're more likely to get to crackle them to death. Let's see, that takes 10 mana, is it? Yeah. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, assuming they target the Goldspan. If they don't target the Goldspan, we can do it next turn because we can just attack with the Goldspan. That still doesn't kill us. And if they don't kill us or the Goldspan Dragon, we do win. And then if they do kill the Goldspan Dragon, we have 2 draws to find an untapped, or to find a land, because we can Alrund's Epiphany. So we get 2 land drops. Okay. They don't run Blizzard Brawl because they don't have snow sources. And let's see if I counted right. 5 plus 6 should be good. Crackle, X2, face, Canopy Tactician, and face Blightblade, why not? They take 1 from the Skemfar Avenger, and they die. Not too bad. Only took 1 removal spell to slow the elf deck down enough for us to do our thing. Not too bad. Doesn't have enough card advantage for my taste. I don't think we're ever going to get to 4 lands, so let's try and do better. It's not really any better, but we'll try it. Put back Crackle with power because we don't need that anywhere near the early game. Looks like Simic again. There's another land. Simic indeed. Would you like to attack with your 1/1 before you sacrifice it to get a forest? Yes, good choice. Alright, we make it to 4 lands. That went better than I'd imagined. Sometimes you get a little lucky. We're still not doing anything until at least turn 4 though, so let's not get ahead of ourselves. Okay, and our opponent ramps once again. Would you like to wait to attack with this one? Play the tapped land, because we don't have any use for it now, but we will need 4, 5, and 6. And our opponent's already at 5 lands. Not great for us. Okay, and they have all the lands they could possibly want before we even have 4. That's nice. I'm sure what they have left in there is Coma Epiphany or something like that. No, they would have foretold an Epiphany. But you get the idea. We're very far behind. But on the off chance they don't have great stuff, like just more ramp cards with Field Trip, but of course that gets Mascot Exhibition. But Draconic Intervention can deal with that. Teachings, not Mascot Exhibition, sure. Well, I guess they get the draw 3 off Teachings, so yeah, that is the better choice. And a Dryad, alright, they had absolutely nothing but ramp in their hands. Okay, that means our dragon's going to resolve unless they run Disdainful Stroke. So let's go for that. The Dryad holds priority here. We might as well attack with the Flamepainter here. If they block it with the Cultivator, we can Frostbite to kill the Cultivator, which I kind of want to do. And if they don't block, we can Frostbite the Innkeeper, and then Frostbite the Dryad. Alright, good choice. Just block with the Dryad. More forests for our friend here, up to 7. No need to Frostbite the Innkeeper just yet. Okay, all in. That means they found Epiphany. Cyclone Summoner. Let's kill their Innkeeper. Don't need them getting that back and getting more treasures for it. We don't really have ways to deal with a 7/7 unless we get an Opus into the graveyard. Or just cast an Opus. Does our opponent still have basics left? Of course they do. As do we, somewhat unfortunately. We can also copy the Draconic Intervention, but we need at least a 4-mana spell in the graveyard for that to work. We need to ramp if we have any chance of winning, so we'll just take 10 here and hope we draw Crackle with Power or something. Yeah, well, I guess Crackle still can get us there. Do they want to draw 3 again? No. Intro to Annihilation. Not sure why they'd get that at this point. Keeps back the Cultivator to block the Hall of the Storm Giants. Good thinking. Good for us. They get a Coil. We find another Goldspan. Does that do anything for us? No, because they have 4 attackers, and we at most have 1 decent blocker with the Flamepainter. I guess we... and they'll tap the second one with Coma, so yeah, we're done here. Had an out, did not find it. Okay, this hand looks nice. Up against mono white, Draconic Intervention should be good, even if it's just for 2. I guess we can Frostbite on 1 and then play the tapped land on 2. We can't let that resolve, or Frostbite will cost 2, so we have to do this first. Okay, Usher. The tapped land, so then we can iteration next turn. Okay, can't be that much going on in their hand. And then hopefully Draconic Intervention for 2 will be enough. We're a long way from teaching for anything, so I'll just take the Frostbite and the Mountain. And we don't have to wait for intervention, we can just Frostbite the Usher here. If they had Faceless Haven, they should have played it on 3, so they could attack with it this turn. So I don't think they have a Faceless Haven available. However, a 3/3 Clarion Spirit we are not able to deal with just yet. But it doesn't attack into the Flamepainter. Skyclave App does, though. Deals with that just fine. There's 4 Prismari commands and 3 Magma Opus in this deck. We never seem to find them. But if we survive one more turn, we can Epiphany. And they're 2 mana away from the Paladin class. Unfortunately, Epiphany exiles, so we cannot use Draconic Intervention with that. And they have the Faceless Haven, so even if we do Draconic Intervention, we're still dead. We need to hit not that. That will not do it. Okay, have Magma Opus, no Draconic Intervention, but on the play with stuff, I'll take it. Possibly an early Gold Span, Frostbite to stop if they're going to attack me early, which mono green will. Don't particularly want to Frostbite a Shambler. There's Draconic Intervention, that'll help. Guess we can wait for their turn to do that. Let them play around whatever they think we have. I take 1. Florahedron. Okay. Not a very threatening start from the green mage here. Definitely don't need to Draconic Intervention just yet. Unless they run Toski, it should hit everything in their deck just fine. If they do have Toski, we're kind of out of luck, but only so much you can do. Probably Frostbite the Florahedron here, unless they do something else. Chariot, huh? That's a pretty good reason to Draconic Intervention next turn. But if we do, then we don't have double red to get the dragon down, which is not good. But then if they have Blizzard Brawl, we're in trouble. If we play the dragon... Well, we still have 2 treasures then, so we can Draconic Intervention later. We just take a hit from the chariot, so that's fine. I think we still Frostbite the Florahedron, though, to slow down their mana a little bit next turn. Probably should have done that this turn, so they couldn't have cast this chariot. But hindsight's 20/20. Once again, a place where Prismari Command would be quite lovely. to destroy target artifact and a 2/2. But will not be the case today. Draconic Intervention should still do fine. Okay, we get to keep our Goldspan Dragon. That's nice. They might get Intro Annihilation for it. But if they spend their next turn doing that, I'm pretty happy. As we get another treasure and draw a card. We do take 9 here, which is a lot, but then our opponent's left with just a Chariot. And we have a Flamepainter. It's not bad either. We can also cast that after the Draconic Intervention. We'll be left without anything good in the graveyard for it, just a Frostbite, but better than nothing. And it is still a body. Or do we keep it and try to win with Crackle next turn? Because if they target the Goldspan, we also need a land, though. So if we have 2 treasures, if they don't target Goldspan, we get 2 treasures, so that's 4 plus 5, which is 9. We need... Okay, yes, we do need 9, so we'll save the treasure. Not worth getting the Flamepainter down here. Please no Blizzard Brawl. Okay, no Blizzard Brawl, which means we should have them. It's not lost on me that Crackle is doing essentially what Alrund's Epiphany has been doing, but I think Fireball fun. And of course you can also use it as a removal spell for 5. Or if your opponent's doing a whole bunch of nonsense, you can sometimes Crackle's better. But we run Epiphany too, because we're not doing any control stuff, we just do all the big fun stuff. Okay, in an effort to get more cards into the graveyard, I've swapped the Teach by Example, or whatever it is, for Torrent Sculptor. Not sure that's the best for the deck, but it's better to get some Flamepainter content. Hopefully, anyway. If this is an Izzet Mirror, this hand is actually pretty good. It's not a matchup we expect to win very often, if they're the traditional version that runs more card draw and counter spells. Also, a significant portion of our removal does not hit dragons, which is not great against Izzet dragons. And of course we're on the draw, so we are already not favored. What do you got, opponent? Faceless Haven. Might give us something to Frostbite at least. Will you counter an iteration? No. We already have a Flamepainter. Do I really want another? I think I'd rather have a Goldspan than a second Flamepainter. We only have so many spells to throw into the bin. And we'll take the tapped land. If they hit me with Haven next turn, so be it. Okay, their own iteration. find the land. Flamepainter does die to Dragon's Fire if they have anything other than Galazeth, but we're going for it. They have either Dragon's Fire or Frostbite, because they started holding priority as soon as the creature hit the board. And if it were Dragon's Fire, they probably would have used it there, so my money's on Frostbite. Alright, they have the 5 mana. Do they have the gold span to go with it? Teach by example. Ah, it's Mill. Well, I guess our average mana value is pretty high. We get to cast an Epiphany for free here because of Prismari command, so that's nice. Do I want a treasure token? Probably a treasure over 2 damage. Both to me. Draw 2, discard Epiphany, and Crackle with Power is no good in the bin. Frostbite's probably not great if they're trying to mill me out. Maybe I should discard a land there instead, but oh well. And they see that I get to cast a free Epiphany, and they're having none of it. Very nice. Don't even let me do the fun stuff with Flamepainter, but still won the game there. We'll take it.